Welcome to this tutorial on assembling a British Standard brood chamber and super. Although I'm showing both supers and brood chambers here, I will only be making a brood chamber because they are made up exactly the same way. It's just a difference in depth. What I want to show you first is where nails go, because it is actually quite important. This is what we should end up with, a box like this. That is probably 15 years old and it's had absolutely no treatment, and as you can see it's been fairly heavily used. Certainly in a teaching apiary situation, hives do get a bit more stick than they do at home. But I want to tell you a little bit about where the nails go. We nail down through the side there and through the ends of these rails. So when you're selecting your parts, you need to make sure that you avoid, if you possibly can, knots in those areas. Now I'm going to show you how I assemble them, which may be different than how you do or how you've been shown, but that's all part of beekeeping, and that's good to see how somebody else does something. And when you're making it, the sides are symmetrical, it doesn't matter which way up they are, but you need to make sure that the in rails are correct. The one that's square goes to the top and the one with the angle on goes to the bottom. And I've seen ever so many people make them the wrong way round or get them opposite. So I think the thing to do is probably to put everything together first and then nail it. Now the end boards, they need to be at the same height as the recess of the top runners. That's much more important than the bottoms being level. Although in most cases they do end up, of course, boards shrink, and it's more important that they are on the level on the top than the bottom. This one has been installed some time, as you can see, but it's probably quite well seasoned. And hopefully we got inside what should end up being a decent brood chamber. That there is absolutely no problem at all. Some people might see it as a defect, but I haven't got a problem with that. What do I need to be aware of? That's okay. The inboards, no knots in. Small one there, no real problem. That I'll tell you about in a minute. And on free there, and free there. So that one should go together without any problems. Now when you put the top bar in, you'll see that this is level with that cut out there. So what we do is we'll put the end boards in level with those to start with. I did mention that that knot there, it is a live knot, so there's no problem. It doesn't really matter where that goes. You could put it inside, you could put it outside. Now you need to be fairly careful that when you turn it over, that it doesn't fall apart. So that's all actually looking quite good. Take an old piece of timber and just tap those in like that. lay that on the top like that, line up the board with the slot. Now this end board here has warped slightly, so I've got to give it a little bit of encouragement to go into the slot. So there's the main carcass done. What we need to make sure is there's no gap down in there either side. So we can turn that over now. Make sure we get these the right way round. So top one in the top, bottom one in the bottom. And then the one with the angle on, that goes at the bottom. A perfectionist will tell you to do it with a mallet or a block of wood, like so. Now, all we need to do is to make sure that these are level, and that's actually remarkably good. But that one needs to go down just a shade, and this one's come up. That side is okay. This one needs to come up top and bottom. Make sure the other end hasn't moved. So that's the carcass put together. Now I always nail, I do not glue, and the reason is that the box is moving all the time. Being an engineer, my thinking is that if you glue the joints, if anything happens, you're putting all the pressure on the glue rather than on the nail. Also, on many occasions I've come across boxes that have been glued and they've been made wrong, and of course you can't get them apart. So I would always nail, and I've been doing that for over 50 years, and I've never had a problem. So now what we do is we'll get it all together, and all I'll do is just nail one side in all the way around, and as I'm doing it, make sure that it doesn't move about, so you need to be a little bit careful. Now the nails I use are 65mm long, so what I tend to do is line my eye up with the end of the board rather than when I'm nailing, rather than that way, because I'm at 90 degrees and I can't really see which way the nail is going in. So I generally put 4 nails in, one at the top, one at the bottom, and 2 in between. So what I'll do is I'll put the one of those in between first. So just nail down part way. Just put my finger on the end and just bang that one down. That's one side fixed. Exactly the same with the other side. Now if you have got a knot in there, let's say, then you've got to come either side of it. You might have to put an extra nail in. Don't worry about that for obvious reasons. And see, I'm putting them in fairly straight. That's moved it up a bit. I'll just give that a little bit of a tap. Done. So there's the carcass together. If you want to check it for square, the easy way is to get a Queen excluder and just put it on the top, a little bit out, but not very much. A bit of remedial work. And there it is, done. So now we finish off the other nailing. So what I tend to do is go down one side first. If you look at this side, it's recessed just a bit. But don't forget, we need to put a nail through there. So what I tend to do is put one at an angle through there, so that where this nail head ends up there, we're doing that. And the same on the top end as well. So I will just do one of those through there. That means that the nails aren't going to hit each other. Not only that, if you put nails through at an angle like that, as any old-fashioned carpenter would tell you, if you put the nails through at an angle, it tends to hold the boards in. Whereas if they're all parallel, it's so much easier for them to warp and do the nails. Don't forget, I'm in line with the end board, so that I know I'm not putting the nail through the side. When you make a brood chamber like this, you end up with it probably in better quality than some of the furniture you can buy. Or certainly some I've seen anyway. There's the main carcass done, and that is pretty rigid. Now what I do is put the nails down through here. Again, fairly simple thing. Of course, if you've got a knot in here, then you might have to drill a hole through or find another way of doing it. What I don't do is nail down through that way, because then you cannot take it out without damaging something, or not easily anyway. Again, I'm looking down in the line of the sideboard. Right, so that's one end done. We're nearly there, folks. Right, folks, that is as strong as I think you would normally get. And that, like that box I showed you to start with, that should last you a lifetime if you look after it. Right, so to stop the end rails easing out like that, what I do is put another nail, a shorter one, I think these are 40mm, going through the other way. Put one like that at an angle, and another one like that at an angle, about that far apart, and then they work they work fine. So we'll just do that on all of them, all sides. Do them at a bit of an angle so it pulls the two parts together. And they're fixed firm now. Right, there's your box made up, and I don't know how long it will take to do, probably 10 minutes, something like that, and it'll last you more than a lifetime. All you've got to do is look after it, make sure it doesn't get too damp. I know it's cedar, but cedar still rots, and that will last, as I say, an awful long time. Now, all we need to do is to put the runners on the end, of which there are three ways of doing it. One is to use this type where you've got the runner automatically in the wood, or you can use the plastic runners which are often supplied, or you can use castellated spacers in the same way that we do at Whisper Green here, and you just nail those on like that. What I tend to do with castellated spacers is to put the tops of them a couple of 3mm down from the top of the box, because very often you get a build up of propolis underneath the frame lugs, and of course they keep getting jacked up as the season goes until you come into your spring clean next year, and it just means that the top box is pushed a little bit away from the bottom one, so it's more room for the bees to propolise up. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you've got something from it. Even if it's how not to do it, it doesn't really matter. And if you want to send a link to somebody else to either say, well look, this is a new way of doing it, or look at this rubbish, it doesn't matter, as long as we all help beekeepers to improve their beekeeping in some way. So thank you very much for watching. We use what are called seconds, which are usually only available at sales time from the manufacturers. Now they are made out of cedar, but where the premium grade are made from Western red cedar, which probably comes from virgin forests, and there will be no knots in, be literally prime quality. These are made from British sourced sustainable forests, so the trees are probably cut down sooner than they should be, which is why you have occasional knots in them. The manufacturers that supply them make sure if possible that they are live knots, not dead knots, so that you're not going to have holes appear where the knots drop out. Personally, I find them very good value. They're less than half price of the normal premium grade, and if you look online, what you'll find is there's a recommendation that in normal conditions, without being treated, there is a useful life of about 60 years, which is going to be well in advance of what most beekeepers need. Personally, I think they're excellent value, but you need to be a little bit careful if you can, certainly if you're selecting them yourselves, and I will show you what I mean. Now these can be available at shows and open days and that sort of thing, open sales, where you can go along and you can select them yourself. They can also be sold as delivered, in which case you haven't really got much choice. You're just got to take really what you've been given, and bearing in mind they're seconds, you really shouldn't be sending them back. Now if you're selecting them yourself, remember where the nails go, and just have a look on the ends and down the sides to see where the knots are. Okay, because I've shown you where the nails should go, and you can sometimes avoid them, or perhaps if that, let's say that knot there happened to be out here somewhere, if you needed to put a nail in that place, you could simply just drill a hole through it. Now I've got 3 end boards here with flaws in. Now there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. Just because there's a knot in doesn't mean to say that it's not as good as if it had no knots in at all. Personally, I think they are stronger because they're less likely to split. But if you take that board there, that's going to be no problem. That's certainly not going to be any problem, and neither are those on that side. So there's absolutely no issue with that board. We've got a similar situation here. You can see they're live knots. They're not going to drop out. The nails will be going through here and through there, so there's no problem with that. And that one is the same, but you might need to be just a little bit careful driving the nail through there. So overall, if you just have a look at the ends, perhaps you can cheat a little bit if you like, and perhaps just push or pull one of these out and make sure everything is okay. But you know, I think they're incredibly good value, and there's a few problems. At Whisper Green Teaching Apiary and the members here, we probably bought 100 in the last 15 years or so, and it's just the occasional board that we've had to replace. But what usually happens is you end up cannibalising something, or even putting it right. But bearing in mind the price of them, nobody minds that at all. I usually nail up boxes so that they can be taken apart, because perhaps you assemble them incorrectly, or perhaps you have a bit of damage, woodpecker damage or something like that, where if you could take it apart, you can replace the parts, and replacement parts are available from the manufacturers. Now, if you want to take it apart, it's easier if you've got nails that are suited. These are the sort of nails that are usually supplied, or they are with one manufacturer, but they've got a very small head, and if you take it apart, you could end up with the head pulling through the material in the way that we're showing you on the still now. For that reason, I use these nails, which are called wire nails. You can buy them in small packs. I prefer the galvanised ones because they don't go rusty. If they go rusty, they very often hold in a lot tighter into the wood, whereas these galvanised ones don't go rusty, and you can remove them if you want to. Now, obviously nails have got points on, and as any carpenter will tell you, if you drive that nail into wood, it will often split. So one way of trying to avoid that is literally just to bang on the point and blunt it. Now, you obviously need something quite solid to do it on, and this is just a log splitter. It could be anything of a similar nature. So the way I do it is to go around and blunt all the nails first.